My brother secretly filmed me changing and shared it as a joke, so I took him to court and got everything he ever owned. I'm a 24-year-old guy, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the family scapegoat. My older brother, Brandon, he was the star, the golden boy, the one everyone doted on like he was carved out of marble and could do no wrong. Tall, athletic, hilarious in that performative class clown way that adults find charming. Every time he got in trouble, it turned into a joke. And every time I did something right, it somehow went unnoticed. I was the quiet one, awkward, sensitive, the kind of kid who stayed in his room drawing or reading because the outside world felt too sharp. But Brandon, he made it his mission to pull me into the spotlight, and not in a good way. When I was 11, he shaved off my eyebrows while I slept during a family camping trip. I remember waking up to laughter echoing around the fire pit, my cousin recording me with a shaky phone while I touched my face in confusion. Brandon said I must have done it myself during one of my weird sleepwalks. My mom half believed him. My dad just muttered, "It's just a prank, don't be so sensitive." It didn't stop there. At school, he'd tell people I peed the bed, or that I still used nightlight. He once replaced my toothpaste with mayo. Another time, he signed me up for a school talent show without telling me, and told everyone I was going to sing Justin Bieber. I hadn't even spoken in class before. The worst part? Everyone laughed. My teachers, my cousins, even some of my friends. And I'd laugh too, because what else could I do? Crying would only make it worse. That's what Brandon wanted. That was always the game. Humiliate me and then say I couldn't take a joke. I kept telling myself it would stop when we got older, that eventually time would mellow him out and we'd have a normal sibling bond. But what came next wasn't just cruel, it was unforgivable. Brandon didn't grow out of it. He evolved as we got older. The pranks didn't go away. They just got quieter, more calculated, like he realized physical stunts were for middle schoolers, and now he could weaponize embarrassment in new ways. Subtle digs in front of girls I liked. Screenshots of old diary entries I thought I'd deleted from a shared family laptop. He always found something to twist, to mock, to turn into a joke with an audience. The worst was how he used social media. It started off as little things posting old, awkward childhood photos of me with braces or acne, tagging me with captions like peak puberty. Then he started clipping parts of our family FaceTime calls, where I'd say something weird or mispronounce a word, and turning them into meme videos for his group chats. He had this private Instagram account called Brand's Burner, where he'd post funny moments. I didn't follow it, but friends would sometimes send me screenshots. Me tripping over a chair at my graduation dinner, me wearing mismatched socks, me snoring on the couch, always with captions like, "Look at this NPC," or "God broke the mold when he made my brother, and thank God for that." I asked him more than once to take the posts down. He'd laugh it off. "You're being dramatic," he'd say, or "It's just for laughs, no one cares that much." But people did care. They commented, they shared, they laughed. And even worse, some started making their own memes of me every time I brought it up. My parents told me I was too emotional. My mom once said, "Brandon's just playful. You need thicker skin." I stopped asking after that. I started shrinking instead of avoiding family events, group chats, even phone calls. But nothing could have prepared me for what I'd find in that bedroom months later. It happened. When I moved back in with my parents for a few weeks, I'd just had minor outpatient surgery on my shoulder, and my lease had ended early. Rather than find a temporary sublet, I agreed reluctantly to stay in the guest room at home. Only it wasn't really a guest room. It was Brandon's old room. Posters still on the walls, some of his gym trophies, even his dusty cologne bottles lined up like a shrine. My mom never truly let it go. A few days in, I was changing shirts after a shower. I remember feeling like someone was watching me, which made no sense. Door locked, curtains closed. Still, I had this weird pit in my stomach. That's when I noticed a faint red glow coming from the air vent above the dresser. It was small, blinking, subtle. I dragged over a chair, unscrewed the vent cover, and there it was. A tiny black camera, wired, taped to the inside wall, hidden deep, motion sensitive from what I could tell, and aimed directly at the bed and closet area. My chest went cold. I held it in my hand, staring at it like it couldn't possibly be real. I didn't scream. I didn't throw it. I just stood there, shirtless, holding a camera that had been filming me God knows how long. I checked the rest of the room. Closet, bookshelf, bathroom, nothing else, just that one. It was almost worse that there was only one, like it had a single purpose. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Brandon, not yet. I carefully removed the SD card, hid the camera under the bed, and took the card to my laptop. I needed to be sure. I needed to know what was on it before I accused anyone, but deep down, I already knew. And I was terrified to press play. I waited until midnight to plug in the SD card. My hands were trembling so badly I had to try 3 times to get it into the slot. My laptop recognized it instantly. 46 video files, all time-stamped from the past 2 weeks. The folder was labeled LOLs. That stupid name made me want to punch something. The first file opened with me folding laundry, then brushing my teeth, then changing right in front of the camera. I watched myself undressing, completely unaware I was being watched. It felt like being skinned alive. I couldn't breathe, couldn't even cry. I just sat there paralyzed, watching someone else's idea of a joke play out at my expense. One file had music added. Someone had edited it, sped up the footage, and played circus music in the background while I struggled to pull a tight hoodie over my surgical sling. There were captions, too. Peak loser energy. Watch this moron try to dress himself. Beta male Olympics. I recognized the voice laughing in the background. It was Brandon. He wasn't just filming me. He was mocking me, editing it, saving his favorite moments. There were 2 files labeled highlights, each one like a greatest hits reel of humiliation. Some were from this week, but a few were from months ago, which meant this wasn't a one-time joke. He'd been doing this for a while. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just some prank gone too far. This was intentional. This was a violation. My legs felt numb when I stood up. I locked my bedroom door, double-checked the windows, hid the SD card under my mattress. I kept whispering to myself, this can't be real. This can't be real. But it was real, and I had no idea yet how far it had already gone. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to wrap my head around what Brandon had done. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the blinking red light. I heard his voice laughing over my humiliation. By morning, I knew I couldn't stay silent. I needed to tell someone, Evan, if part of me already knew how this would go. I waited until my mom was alone in the kitchen, making tea. I told her I needed to talk, and she gave me that tight smile she always used when she assumed I was overreacting. I walked her upstairs and showed her the camera first still tucked under the bed, where I'd hidden it. Then I showed her the SD card, the files, the edited clips, the ones with Brandon's voice. Her smile vanished. She went pale. Her hands shook as she held the camera. She said quietly, like she was afraid someone might hear, maybe it was just a dumb prank. A sick joke? A prank? I said, my voice cracking. Mom, he filmed me changing. He shared it. She didn't ask who he shared it with. She didn't ask how long it had been going on. She just blinked hard and whispered, I don't know what you want me to do. I wanted her to scream, to cry, to get angry, but instead, she looked like she was trying to hold the family portrait together with her bare hands. Later that evening, my dad came in with a practiced calm and said, let's not escalate things, okay? We'll talk to Brandon. No need to ruin his life over a misunderstanding. That was the moment I realized if I wanted justice, I'd be on my own. The next day, I called a friend I trusted, Josh. We'd been roommates in college, and he was the kind of guy who knew how to pull data from places most people didn't even know existed. I told him everything, my voice shaking, my hands sweating against the phone. I didn't even need to ask for help. He just said, send me everything. I'll see what I can find. An hour later, he called back, dude, I don't know how to say this, but it's worse than you thought. Brandon hadn't just edited the clips. He'd uploaded them to a private Discord server with over 200 members. The server name was some twisted inside joke, and it had a whole channel titled Familial Secrets. That's where he dumped the videos. My videos, clips of me sleeping, changing, brushing my teeth, commented on, laughed at, dissected like I was a zoo animal. Josh said one clip had nearly 80 replies, some with GIF reactions, Others, with phrases like LMAO, this kid's a walking L, or bro really, got dressed in the dark. One user asked, "Is this even legal?" Brandon's reply was a laughing emoji. But that wasn't the worst part. Some of the files had been downloaded. It meant they were out there nowhere, someone's hard drive, someone's phone, maybe being forwarded, maybe being shared in other groups I didn't even know existed. I felt like I'd been stripped naked in the middle of a crowd and no one had the decency to look away. Josh paused and said, "I saved everything. Screenshots, metadata, server links. You can take this to the cops, man. This is serious." I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. My ears were ringing. This wasn't a joke anymore. It was a full-blown violation. I was going to make him pay. I didn't go to the police right away. I needed to be smart, not emotional. Every time I thought about confronting Brandon directly, I imagined him twisting it into another joke or worse, deleting everything before I could act. So I spent the next 48 hours gathering evidence. I pulled every file off the SD card, archived the server screenshots Josh had sent, downloaded metadata logs, user comments, timestamps, anything that proved a pattern. Then I made an appointment with a lawyer. I walked into that office carrying a flash drive and a storm inside me. I sat across from a woman named Alyssa, late 30s, sharp eyes, calm voice, and told her everything. She didn't flinch. Didn't ask if I was overreacting or if this was just family stuff. She plugged in the drive, watched 2 clips, and looked me dead in the eyes. "What your brother did," she said, "qualifies as invasion of privacy, unlawful surveillance, harassment, and distribution without consent." I just nodded. My throat was dry. Then she said the words I didn't know I needed to hear. "We can press charges, and we can sue." I remember this strange sensation flooding my chest. Not relief, exactly, but something closer to control. For once, I wasn't just someone else's target. I wasn't a meme. I wasn't a punchline. Alyssa explained the next steps, documenting the chain of custody for the evidence, filing a civil case for emotional damages, and working with authorities to potentially issue a warrant if we could prove Brandon still had other content stored. It was clinical, strategic, cold, and it was everything I needed. I left her office, feeling like I'd crossed a line I could never uncross, but also, for the first time in years, like maybe I didn't have to be the family punching bag anymore. Now, I just had to make Brandon realize that too. Brandon didn't take it seriously at first, when I stopped replying to his texts and went quiet in the family group chat. He sent me a meme, a blurry photo of a crying toddler with the caption, "When your brother can't take a joke." My blood boiled. I wanted to reply, to scream, to tell him I wasn't playing anymore, but I didn't. I let the silence speak. 2 weeks later, the detectives showed up at his apartment with a warrant. According to Alyssa, they'd secured it after submitting our compiled evidence to the district attorney. The police knocked. Brandon opened the door shirtless and groggy. Probably thought it was DoorDash. They walked in with gloves and boxers, confiscated 2 laptops, 3 phones, and a hard drive from his bedroom drawer. I wasn't there, but I didn't have to be. My parents were, and my mom called me an hour later, sobbing. She cried, "They're saying Brandon could go to jail. He's your brother." I didn't say a word. Then my dad got on the phone. His voice was calm, like always, but there was something sharper underneath. "You really want to ruin his life over something like this?" That word again, something dot. As if filming me without my consent, editing the footage, uploading it to strangers, turning my private moments into a comedy series that was just something. I hung up, blocked them both. That night, Brandon texted me, "Okay, I get it. You're mad? Can we just talk and make this go away?" But there was nothing to talk about anymore. He had laughed while I suffered. Now it was his turn to sweat. The court date was set 3 months later. By then, Brandon's confidence had cracked. His social media accounts went silent. The brand's burner, Instagram, vanished. So did his YouTube channel and Twitch stream. His friends stopped tagging him in anything. One by one, the laughs disappeared, replaced by an eerie quiet he wasn't used to living in. But I didn't care about his silence. I cared about justice. When we stepped into that courtroom, Brandon looked nothing like the brother I remembered. No cocky smirk, no backward hat, just a suit that didn't quite fit and eyes that darted around like he was looking for someone to save him. But no one came. His lawyer tried to argue it was all a series of harmless pranks between siblings, and that I was overinterpreting the situation through a lens of emotional sensitivity. Alyssa didn't even blink. She played the video with the circus music. She showed the Discord server logs, the monetization links, and the PayPal receipts. Yes, Brandon had made money off me. He turned my humiliation into a side hustle. The judge's face shifted when he saw the footage. His expression hardened. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was calculated, sustained, predatory. Brandon's hands were shaking. By the time the clips ended, I watched him try to avoid my eyes. I didn't flinch. He wasn't the golden boy anymore. He was just a grown man who thought being a brother gave him the right to strip someone else's dignity on camera. For fun, the court wasn't laughing, and for the first time in my life, neither was anyone else. I didn't expect it to go viral, but it did. A local news outlet published a small piece on the case, just a quiet column about digital privacy and sibling harassment. But someone online connected the dots, matched Brandon's face to old clips he'd posted of funny family moments. Within a week, a Reddit thread exploded. Influencer gets sued by own brother for secret recordings. Golden child caught treating sibling like content. Screenshots of the Discord server started circulating. So did his old burner posts, the ones where I was labeled a walking L. People began posting side-by-sides, one of Brandon, smirking with his followers, and the other of me, in court, stoic, broken, and standing tall anyway. Then the tide really shifted. Brandon's fans, his once loyal, emoji-reacting audience, turned on him. The comments were brutal. "Dude's not funny. He's a creep. Imagine filming your own brother changing clothes and calling it content. I used to follow this guy. Unsubbed instantly. This is disgusting." His follower count nosedived. Sponsorships pulled. Brand deals gone. His monetization privileges on YouTube were revoked. Discord terminated his server. Even Instagram flagged his account for violating privacy policies. And suddenly, Brandon, my smug, untouchable older brother, was radioactive. He tried damage control. Uploaded a shaky apology video, eyes red, voice trembling. Said he was deeply sorry and didn't realize the impact. Tried crying on camera. Tried to turn the sympathy dial up to 10, but no one was buying it. This wasn't cancel culture. This was consequence. And no amount of filters or edits could save him now. For the first time, I wasn't the one being scrutinized. He was, and the internet didn't look away. Brandon hit rock bottom faster than I ever imagined. The court officially ruled in my favor. He was ordered to pay damages, both emotional and punitive, and issue a formal signed apology to me under legal supervision. The judge didn't mince words. What you did was a calculated and repeated invasion of privacy. This is not a joke. This is trauma. His lawyer looked like she wanted to disappear, but even outside the courtroom, life unraveled for him. His apartment complex terminated his lease after the media attention got too loud. Someone plastered a flyer with the headline, "Beware, your neighbor might be filming you," on the community bulletin board. He moved back in with my parents, who were already furious at me for airing our dirty laundry. His girlfriend now exposed a story that said, "You never really know someone." I'm disgusted. Brandon reached out once. Just once. It was a voicemail. His voice cracked halfway through. "I messed up, man. I don't even know who I am anymore. I lost everything. You happy was I?" I replayed that message a few times. Not because I felt pity, but because I realized something. He finally sounded small. The way I used to feel every time he mocked me. Every time he laughed at my expense and called it brotherly love. My parents still couldn't accept what happened. My dad kept saying, "You should have handled this privately." My mom refused to talk to me for weeks, but for once, I didn't shrink to make them comfortable. I didn't apologize for standing up. I didn't explain myself. Brandon had spent years building a life by tearing me down. Now all that was left was rubble. It came about a month after the trial ended. No text, no call, just a plain white envelope left on my doorstep with my name in Brandon's handwriting. For a second, I thought it might be another twisted prank, but when I opened it, it wasn't a stunt. It was a letter, 3 full pages, handwritten. No edits, no filters, no jokes. He started with, "I know I don't deserve to be forgiven." That line alone made me sit down. I don't know what I expected, some backhanded excuse or blame-shifting nonsense, but instead, it was raw, humble, maybe for the first time in his life. Honest, he admitted to everything. Said he started the videos as a way to feel important, that making people laugh gave him attention he craved, and humiliating me was easy. He said he never thought about how it made me feel because deep down, he never took me seriously. Then came the part that hit me hardest, watching you stand in court and not flinch while my world burned. It broke something in me. Not because I lost, but because you finally showed me what strength actually looks like. He ended it with, "I don't expect you to write back." I just needed to say it. For once, I didn't want to hide behind a camera. I didn't cry, but I felt something shift inside me. Not closure, exactly, but a strange kind of peace. Like I'd finally been seen, not mocked, not used, not dismissed, just seen. I didn't reply. I don't know if I ever will, but I kept the letter in my drawer, not out of forgiveness, but proof that even golden boys bleed when the spotlight turns cold. I knew my relationship with Brandon would never be the same, but I didn't expect to lose my parents too. In the weeks following the case, they grew distant. My mom barely looked at me during meals. My dad stopped texting me updates about the house or asking if I needed anything. It was like I'd committed some unspoken crime. Like by standing up for myself, I'd betrayed them. At first, I tried to justify it. Told myself they were just shocked, that they'd come around eventually. But one afternoon, when I dropped by to pick up the rest of my things, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. My mom, he humiliated his own brother. Took it to court like some stranger off the street. My dad, we raised them better than this. Families don't sue each other. I stood there, frozen keys in hand. It wasn't Brandon they were angry at. It was me. That moment shattered whatever hope I had left. These were the same people who refused to believe me when I showed them the camera, who said, "Don't escalate," while I was being violated. And now, they were mourning the illusion of family loyalty instead of confronting the rot beneath it. But what surprised me most was the messages I started getting from cousins, aunts, even an old neighbor. I saw what happened. You did the right thing. Brandon always crossed the line. We just didn't know how far. I wish I'd spoken up sooner. Turns out, I wasn't the only one he'd humiliated over the years. Just the only one who finally drew a line in the sand. And for the first time in my life, I realized maybe the family I was born into wasn't where I belonged. Healing didn't come in some big, cinematic moment. It didn't look like a sunrise or a motivational quote on a coffee mug. It looked like small, quiet things, waking up without a knot in my chest, taking a full breath without hearing Brandon's voice in my head. It was messy, slow, uneven, but it was mine. I started therapy. It felt awkward at first, like trying to peel off armor I'd worn for years. I wasn't used to talking about my emotions without someone rolling their eyes or telling me to lighten up. But little by little, I found words for things I used to bury. Shame, anger, grief. Grief not just for what Brandon did, but for the family I thought I had. I moved out of my parents' orbit, found a small studio apartment 2 towns over, started working remotely, and reconnected with people who actually saw me. I deleted the old group chats, blocked people who only reached out when there was drama to spectate. For the first time in years, I chose peace over proximity. I started journaling again, reading again. Hell, I even tried painting. Not because I was good at it, but because no one was watching. No one was waiting to turn my vulnerability into a punchline. Brandon's apology letter stayed tucked in my drawer. I never responded, and maybe I never will. But I kept it not for him, but for me. Proof that I wasn't crazy, that what happened did matter, that I wasn't just being sensitive, was being human. Healing didn't erase the scars. It just taught me that I didn't have to live inside them forever, and I wasn't the punching bag anymore. I was the survivor, the one who stood up, the one who walked away. If you've ever been the butt of someone's joke, if you've ever sat there, face burning, while people laughed and told you to lighten up, this is for you. You're not weak. You're not dramatic. You're not too sensitive. You're just surrounded by people who think cruelty is comedy. It starts small. They call you awkward, weird. They say things like, "Don't take it personally," or, "We love you." But deep down, you feel it, the sting that doesn't go away. the way you shrink in rooms where you should be safe, the way you rehearse your words before speaking so you don't give them more ammunition. That was my life for years, always walking on eggshells, always wondering when the next joke would land on me. But here's what I've learned. You have the right to draw a line. You have the right to say, "This isn't funny." You have the right to say, "I deserve better." And if they get angry, if they accuse you of ruining the mood or taking it too far, that tells you everything you need to know. Because real love doesn't humiliate. Real family doesn't exploit. Real relationships don't thrive on fear and silence. You don't owe them your tolerance. You don't owe them your laughter. What you owe yourself is safety, dignity, peace. Don't wait for them to validate your pain. Don't wait for the room to go quiet before you finally speak. You're allowed to stand up, even if your voice shakes, even if they turn their backs. Especially if they turn their backs, because that's when you finally see the ones who truly love you. Never needed an audience to treat you right. I never blocked Brandon, not out of forgiveness, not out of kindness, but because I wanted him to watch. I wanted him to see every step I took toward rebuilding my life, every smile I posted, every quiet victory, every moment that proved I was never the weak one, just the one they underestimated. He follows me from a burner account now. I can always tell it's the same pattern. Views without likes, the same cities popping up in my story views, a muted ghost watching from the edge of the screen. I don't acknowledge it. I don't message him, but I let him watch. He saw when I launched my small podcast about digital boundaries and consent. He saw when I was interviewed in a local article about standing up to harassment within families. He saw the comments hundreds of strangers saying, "You're brave, you helped me speak up, this gave me strength." And he saw something else, too, that I never used his name, never chased clout off his downfall, never turned him into content because I didn't need to destroy him to heal. I just needed to walk away. Now, I look around at my life quiet, peaceful, rooted in choice, and I smile knowing it's mine, built not on fear or shame, but truth. On boundaries, on voice, on strength I didn't even know I had. Brandon can keep watching. He can sit behind his screen and scroll through the life I built without him. No likes, no comments. Just silence. And I hope that silence is deafening, because I was never the joke. I was the turning point, the one who finally said, "No more." And he'll never unsee what it cost him.